He's only 13. How could you? She screamed in despair as she rushed into the bedroom. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss our next amazing stories. Alberto had never been lucky in love. His first marriage, which took place soon after his return from military service, seemed like a dream come true. He had brought a girl from his village, Letizia, to the big city, hoping to build a happy life together. But his dreams were quickly shattered. Letizia began to meet new friends, enjoying the social life. He came home late, often leaving Alberto to dine alone with the leftovers from the previous day. Letizia, I understand that you want to spend time with friends, but don't forget that you have a husband and a home, he told her patiently one day. But Letizia always dismissed him with a laugh, saying that he shouldn't be a party pooper. The situation continued like this for months, until Alberto decided to ask for a divorce. Letizia sobbed, promising to change, but he remained firm in his decision. I wish you to live alone all your life and meet only the worst women, Letizia cursed him, and in a certain sense, that curse seemed to come true. Years later, a new employee arrived in the canteen of the construction company where he worked. She was the new cook, and her name was Clara. Alberto was immediately struck by her beauty. She was a young and attractive woman, and even though Alberto was now over 40, he began to hope for a happy life again. Clara had a bright smile and always seemed cheerful. Alberto greeted her briefly without daring to say more. One evening, while returning home, Alberto saw Clara at the bus stop with a little girl. It was raining, and dusk was falling. Hi, Clara. Can I give you a ride? It's raining so hard, he said, stopping the car. Oh, thank you so much, Alberto, Clara replied, hurrying to the car. We live on the other side of town, in an old hostel, if you don't mind. Come on up, I'll take you, said Alberto, smiling. During the journey, Clara told that her husband had died years before, and she now lived alone with her daughter, Bianca. The little girl remained silent, looking out the window. When they arrived, Clara invited him for a cup of tea. I don't think your husband will be happy to see me, Alberto replied embarrassedly. There is no husband, Alberto, Clara said sadly. Alberto apologized and said goodbye to her quickly, but that brief meeting lit a hope in both their hearts. As the weeks passed, Alberto and Clara began to see each other more often. They had some really nice moments together. They talked for a long time, they laughed together. An intense love story was born between them, which, after a few months, they decided to crown with marriage. Unfortunately, however, Bianca never accepted Alberto or their marriage, and soon began to show annoyance and hostility towards her mother's new husband. She was always grumpy and rude, and Clara often tried to punish her for her behavior. Don't worry, Clara, Alberto said. She's just testing our limits. We have to act like adults. But Bianca, hurt and jealous, continued to fuel within herself a growing hatred towards Alberto day after day. She mistreated the gifts he gave her, and despite his efforts, she always remained distant and hostile. One evening, Clara went out to do the shopping. Alberto was watching television when Bianca approached. Can you help me with the dress? The zipper is stuck, she said, and Alberto helped her without hesitation. Bianca hugged him and gave him a kiss on the cheek. It was the first time she had shown him a kind gesture, and Alberto, moved, smiled. But his smile faded when he saw Clara standing in the doorway. He's only 13. How could you? She screamed in despair as she rushed into the bedroom. Bianca ran out, and Clara accused Alberto of inappropriate behavior. Before we continue, we would like to ask you, What would you do in Alberto's place? Did you ever expect the story to take this turn? Let us know in the comments. If you liked the video, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. "She's just a little girl," Alberto exclaimed in despair. "I didn't do anything to her, Clara. How can you think that?" Clara, hurt and confused, did not speak to him for days, but eventually they made peace. A few weeks later, Alberto fell ill and stayed at home. One morning, he woke up hearing Clara screaming. Bianca was lying next to him, pulling a blanket over herself. Clara, beside herself, called the police. No one who knew or worked with Alberto really believed he was capable of such a thing, but he was eventually sentenced to 4 years in prison anyway. Clara and Bianca left town immediately after the trial, and no one ever heard from them again. After 4 years, Alberto left prison changed, aged, and marked by that terrible experience of which he was not even guilty. His friends, Valeria, Sylvia, and Anna, who had supported him throughout his sentence, welcomed him warmly. Sylvia found him a job as a guard, and little by little Alberto tried to rebuild a new, quiet life far from his terrible memories. A few years passed. One day, while returning home from a night shift, he saw a young woman sitting in the entrance of his building. "Alberto, I need to talk to you," she said, coming closer. It was Bianca. "No need, Bianca," he replied coldly. "Please let me explain. My mother is dying. She wants to see you," she said, crying. Bianca confessed that she had been jealous and that she had orchestrated everything to push him away. Alberto, shocked, locked himself in the house. The next day, he went to the hospital. Clara, on her deathbed, looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Alberto," she whispered. Alberto didn't have the strength to say a word. The only thing he could do was take her hand and kiss it. Alberto was confused and did not realize how much time had passed. They spent an hour together, but when Alberto awoke from oblivion, Clara was already dead. At the funeral, Alberto was visibly shaken and confused. He couldn't share a word with anyone, and the only thing he could do was stay there, near the coffin. Bianca and her husband organized everything. Bianca came closer and asked him, "Do you want to come with us, Dad?" Alberto, bent over with pain, walked away alone, without looking back. Alberto's story teaches us that life can be incredibly unfair and that gossip can destroy innocent lives. However, forgiveness can offer a path to healing. In your opinion, is forgiveness always possible, even when the wounds are deep? Share your opinion with us. We are waiting for you in the comments.